Barns and Charm, where we do everything farmhouse and crafting, thrift flips, furniture flips, thrift hauls, all kind of creative stuff. So we do all kind of farmhouse and country and rustic chic. So I think if you like those things, I think you might like these. So, and boy, do we have a fun one today. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to introduce you to my little friends here. Ooh, aren't they so cute? Oh my goodness. Look at them. They're little owls. Aren't they so cute? You guys want to learn how to make them? Yeah, you do. Because I do too. They're so much fun and I can't wait to show you. Look at their little backsides. Aren't they so cute? So, yay. We got a little guy right here. And we got a little bit bigger one. He's about 10.5 inches tall, body-wise. And then he's on a little stick. Isn't he cute? Just in time for fall, guys. Oh my goodness. And there's choices down below in the description box on paper choice, or you can use your own paper. You can use wallpaper. You can use napkins. You can use anything. If you can glue it to the wood, it'll work. So let's get started. Let me put these to the side and sit right over here. Let's quickly go over the kit real quick. This is pretty much what everything you're going to get in the kit, so let's go over that. So to start off, you will get, of course, your little owl bodies. You'll get a larger one and then a smaller one. You will also get some paint, and real quick, you'll notice that there's some writing on the paint pots. The three at the end is a glue. It's Mod Podge, so that's not necessarily paint. That's just clear glue. You'll get a little bit of gold paint. You'll get a little bit of white paint or cream, depending on your paper choice. And then you'll get a little bit of antiquing wax. So that's fun. Then you'll get your larger owl eyes. You'll get your smaller owl eyes. You'll get a couple of paint sponges. You'll get your bottle caps, which also goes with the little eyes, and the paper, the paper inserts that will correlate with your paper choice, unless you use your own paper, and then you'll have to supply your own little paper circles. But I just use a 1-inch punch that you can get at any craft store. They're really inexpensive. It's just a little 1-inch circle, just like that. I just punched out of my paper choice. You'll get a larger wing and a smaller wing. You'll get some raffia and a couple of strips of ribbon. Of course, you'll get your little feet, one for your little bird and one for your big bird. You get your little owl pupils, and you'll get your little tacks that you tack onto your wing with, and then of course your paper choice. So your paper might be a little bit different than my paper choice. I just chose these, but you're more than welcome, again, to use any paper you want. You can even use a magazine piece of paper. You can use newspaper. That would be really neat. Or like an old vintage book paper. That would be really cool. Just anything, really, just as long as it's somewhat thin. If you go too thick, it might be a little bit difficult to sand off the edges when we go to clean up the edges. You don't want to go real thick, but yeah, any paper product really would work great. And then there's a few things you're going to need to supply for yourself that are somewhat optional, but it'll help to have a pair of scissors. They don't need to be necessarily super sharp or fancy in any way, but you will need a pair of scissors. You will need something to hammer the little tacks into the wood. You can press them with your thumb a little bit, but it might be a little bit difficult to go all the way. So you're going to need some sort of a hammer or something to tap the the little tacks in with. And they're not difficult. They don't need a lot. You don't need a sledgehammer by any means, but you know, this is a jeweler hammer that I got at the hobby store. Also, a pair of needle nose pliers might be helpful. It's not necessary by any means if you feel comfortable pushing the tack into the wood and then just hammering it. You can do it that way, or if you wish, you can hold the tack with a needle nose plier and hold it onto the wood and then hit it down into the wood. So it's really up to you. These aren't necessarily necessary, but it helps if you're if you're not comfortable with your aim and you're afraid you might whack your finger, which I do on occasion. These are helpful. And then also, you are more than welcome if you have a rolling pin or a brayer. I know there's a lot of scrapbookers out there that use a brayer, other crafters. This is a brayer, just a handheld rolly pin. Again, not necessary, but it would be helpful to roll the paper across your bird body when it's time to dry the paper onto your wood. But it's not necessary by any means. You can even use your stems. So if you wanted to use the stem and roll it across your bird body just to roll out wrinkles, this actually would work just fine. Let's see. You're going to need some water. I'll supply you a little paintbrush, but you want a cup of water, and some paper towels is definitely a necessity when it comes to anything crafting, I think, or at least I'm a messy baby, so I always have these on hand, or even a little bit of wet wipes or something like that to clean your hands with. And then last but not least, again, not necessary, but it's helpful, a glue gun. It doesn't have to be fancy, or if you have any kind of glue to glue your stems down into your bases, just so they're a little bit more permanent, that's all that this is. So that's all we're using the glue gun for, but not necessary by any means. And if you don't even want it to be permanent, then you can just stick them down in your bases and then be done with it. So you don't even need a hot glue gun, but you're more than welcome to use one. So all right, that being said, hopefully there's no questions. And if you guys have any questions about any of this, please just let me know in the questions, in the comments down below, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can. Or hit me up on Facebook at 3 Barns a Charm and DM me, and I will again be happy to answer any questions that you may have. So, but yay, are you guys ready to get started? I'm ready to get started. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. So let's get crafting, guys. Woo, let's go. All right. So let's clean up my space here. I'm gonna move this stuff out of the way. And if you hear crickets in the background, I got the windows open because it's a nice day today where I live. So I just thought, well, might as well have the windows open while we can before it gets hot again. So I apologize if you hear the little crickets are being rude out there. So, but anyway, it's a nice sound. So I'll get my workstation cleaned up here, and we'll move this stuff out of the way. And move my little tacks out of the way. All right. Let's do this. So, all right, so first off, you want to decide which owl is which. Now, feel free to do each owl. You can do both fronts the same and then the backs differently, or you can do the large owl in one paper and the small owl in another. There's no right or wrong. Feel free to mix it up, match it up. Or if you don't want anything on the back sides, or if you just want to paint your owls, you're more than welcome to do that. If you got a little paint that you want to use, chalk paint does really well on wood, or even just an acrylic paint, that does really well. So feel free. You don't have to use paper, but you might as well because it's kind of fun. So why not? All right, so first off, you're gonna decide which is which, and then set aside one or the other, and then we'll start on the larger one. And the first step is to take your brown paint and just twist the little ends, and you just twist them, kind of push one up with your thumb and push the other side down with your finger, and it'll pop open. Just be careful because you don't want to spill it. They're kind of tricky to open. Just be real gentle and they'll open up. Just like that. All right, and now the antiquing wax is what we're going to be using. And again, you guys use whatever you want to use. If you want to use a different paint or a different color, feel free to do so. But I'm going to use the antiquing wax. And what I'm going to do is take one of my little sponges, and I'm going to take my scissors, and I'm going to make my little sponge a little bit smaller. And I'm just going to cut him right in half, just like so. So I got a little bit smaller sponge, so it'll fit down in my paint pot. And then I'm going to cut that in half as well. So now I have just a little stamper guy, and you're going to stick it down in your paint, just like so. And what you're going to do is go along all the edges of your owls and just go all the way across the edges, just like that. And it's okay if it goes on the front and the back. It's perfectly fine. That's going to get covered up with the paper. So just keep dipping in your brown paint or whatever paint you want on the edges. And maybe you don't want anything on your edges. Maybe you want it to be just a natural finish, and that's okay too. But this just kind of gives it that rustic look to it. I will say this, if you guys are using a very light paper for the front and or the back, if you put a lot of dark paint on your edges and you get it really messy on the front, if you're using like a napkin or a really thin, fragile paper, you want to be very careful and not getting it on the front, because that will show through once you glue your paper down. So just keep that in mind. But if your paper is fairly thick, it'll be okay. Just keep that in mind. But again, there's no right or wrong, for sure. And you just want to go all around the edges. And if it helps, maybe we'll try the paintbrush. The paintbrush might be a little bit easier, the one in your kit here, or if you have an extra one, especially on the tops where it's a bit more porous. There's a little bit more grain happening on the tops of the owls. So we'll just dab it on that way. Yeah, that works pretty good. And just get it down in the cracks. This is really fun, guys. I love to craft, and I hope that you guys will like to do more crafts like this. I got a couple more ideas, but if you guys have a specific craft you would like for me to try, or if you had any ideas, I'm more than willing to check that out too. If you guys like seasonal crafts, or you want stuff that you can keep out all year round, do you like things like home decor, or signs? We could do signs too. I think that would be kind of fun. I have a lamp tutorial, believe it or not, in the works too. I think you guys might like too. So we'll see how that goes. But you don't have to spend a lot of time on it. You just want to, you know, darken the edges just to kind of give a little added interest. Do you guys craft a lot? I try to craft. I feel like there's a time warp whenever I come into my little craft space and craft. I kind of lose track of time. What's your guys' favorite crafts to do? Do I have any seamstress out there? I'm envious. I don't sew much, and I'm always impressed with the folks that can really sew, or crochet for that matter. Golly, I wish I knew how to do that. That'd be cool. I just doesn't stick in my brain. All right. And again, if a little bit of wood is showing through, that's okay too. I don't know if you guys can see that. The sun is setting, so it's making some shadows, but you just want to add a little bit of interest. And then once you're done with your brush, you want to go ahead and rinse that out really well in your water. And I'm going to go back to my little sponge and go down the straight sides. Super easy. Really, really easy. I might try to do a pumpkin craft too here in the next week or so. Let me know if that's something you would like to see. Let me grab it here real quick. Just really, really simple, cute little pumpkin. It's brown paper and then painted. Isn't that cute? Turned out really cute. So I thought maybe I might do that as a class too. I thought that was really cute. So just let me know what you guys are thinking. But right now we're gonna let that one dry. I might put a little bit more on there real quick. But easy peasy. And go as dark as you like. But you don't really want to soak the wood. You want this to be able to dry. Because if you soak your wood, then you have a tendency to raise the grain a little bit, and you'll notice then there's a bit of an extra texture, which that's okay too, really. I mean, you're not harming it. It just adds a little extra texture. And then I'm going to let that, set that down and let that dry a little bit, and then I'm going to do my little owl. Same thing. I'm going to stick my little sponge down in there and paint the edges on my little guy. And again, this stuff can get a little bit messy, so if you guys want to use a glove, feel free. Matter of fact, I might put one on here. Back in action. Now we can get crazy. No worries about mess now. All right, that's better. There we go. Just sponge the paint right on the edges. Just like that. Flip him over, do the bottom side. But again, guys, you guys don't have to do this step if you don't want to. You can make it your own. If you want it to be white or blue or red or whatever, you don't have to make it brown. This just kind of gives it that kind of rustic farmhousey feel. And then the last edge right here, get one more in there, just like that. Easy, easy, easy. Just again, just be careful not to get a whole bunch on the front or the back, because if your paper's really thin, you will see that edge, that brown edge. So just be careful. But if you like that look, then that's okay too. There's really no right or wrong. All right, so now we're gonna let that sit right there. And if you guys want, this is totally optional. If you wanna do your stems, you can do that also, but I would wait. Don't do, if you're gonna color your stems, I would wait a couple of steps down the road before you do this, because you can use these as your roller. So I wouldn't coat this in any kind of paint or glue or anything until you're almost done. When you're done with the owl bodies, then you can paint these, and we'll do that. But don't do them right now. So if you want to add flair to your sticks and your little feet, you're more than welcome to do so. Just wait. Well, you can do these, but I would wait on the sticks because you're going to use these to roll. So I'm going to leave mine bare because that's what I did with the little owls here. They're just natural, but feel free to stain them or paint them however you want. So next step, I'm going to close up my brown paint because I will spill it if I don't. And then you're pretty much done with the edges on that. So now we got our edges all darkened up, or if you wanted to paint them, you're more than welcome to do so, or just leave them natural. But now that we're done with that, now what we're gonna do is put some Mod Podge on the front and the back of the large owl, or you can start on the small owl, it doesn't matter. We're gonna do one and then the other, but I recommend to start with just one first. So I'm gonna start with my larger one. So you got at the end here, you got some that say Mod Podge, well, Mod, but for Mod Podge. So what you're gonna do is open up your glue and scoop out the glue with your little brush, and then you're going to spread it all over the surface of your owl. And you wanna make sure you get it all the way to the edge. Now you don't need to go over the edge, but you definitely want to go up to the edge. So you just kind of take the brush and just kind of go right off the edge. So, I mean, if you go over the edge, it's okay, but you definitely want to make sure you get it all the way to the edge, all the way up to the edge. So when you sand the paper off, it sands all the way to the edge. And you want to make sure that you don't have any little bits of wood or little fuzzies or pet hair of any kind or anything like that. You just want to make sure that they're brushed, there's nothing on the surface, because once you glue and you put the paper on top, you might see any little bumps. So you want to make sure that there's no little boogies on top. So I mean, you don't have to go crazy, it's not gonna be super obvious, but just want to make sure that if these have been sitting out for a minute, you just want to make sure you brush them off and dust them off. So, and there was a little bit on this side. So, all right. So now that brush that off, I'm going to take your brush and dip in your glue. And you don't want to glob it in one spot. You want to make sure that it's kind of an even coat all the way across, because if you have a glob in one spot, it can wrinkle up your paper. So you don't want to saturate, but you definitely want it to look a little on the wet side. So I kind of just start in the middle and then work my way to the outside. And you want to make sure you work fairly quickly, especially if you're in a hot and or windy area, because Mod Podge dries pretty quick. So you just want to make sure that you are moving it around and making sure that there's no globs or blobs, because like I said, that can make your paper wrinkle a little bit. So you just want to make sure, and you want to move pretty quick, not trying to rush, but you want to move fairly quickly. Get that glue on there so you can get your paper down. If you hear my neighbors, they're out enjoying the fine evening air because it's been pretty warm, so everybody's outside with their windows open. So you just want to make sure you get all the way to the edge. Make sure every little bit's glued down. And then what you want to do is put your brush back in the water so it doesn't dry out, and you want to lay your paper down. If you have a piece of paper or a pattern that is very square like this one is, you want to make sure that it is square to the owl. So what you can do is you can even flip it around and lay it down gently. And then if you hold it up to the light, you can see the pattern. You can see the pattern through it, and you can move the owl with the paper so you know that it would be square. Because if it's crooked, if my pattern's crooked, it'll be really obvious once but you want it, you want what I'm trying to say is you want the owl to sit square to your pattern. Now, if you have an organic, something like this, it doesn't matter so much. But with something like this, you probably want it to be squared to your straight edge. So, and then you take your roller, or if you have a brayer, you just roll from the center out. Nice and gentle, you don't have to press real hard, but you want to start in the middle and roll out. Start in the middle and roll out. Start in the middle and roll out. If you take your stick, start in the middle, and you can see you can feel where the edges are. Like my little owl ears stop pretty much right here, and the little tail is down here. So you just want to push down any blobs or wrinkles. So you just want to make sure you're just rolling it out, kind of like dough. You don't want to press real hard because you don't want to rip, especially if you have a napkin or a really fragile tissue paper. You have to be very careful with this. You just want to just kind of push out all the wrinkles with your fingers and just roll it out. And when you get to the end, you can just you can start seeing where the edges are. And a little bit of texture is okay. That's not a problem at all. The Mod Podge dries clear and you're not going to see it anyway. So you just want to roll it out. And then you'll flip it over. You'll flip over your owl and you will do the other side the same exact way. So, get my Mod Podge opened up. These are a little tricky to open. And you'll do the same. You'll do the same on this side. Again, you just want to make sure that it's even and all over. You want it to just kind of look wet. You don't want it to be super globby. If you see a big glob of Mod Podge, you're going to have to like smooth that out, because otherwise it'll make your paper weak and it'll show a big wrinkle. So you just want to make sure that you get the glue on real quick, and you want to get it on fairly smooth. And you want to go all the way to the edge. And again, it's okay if you get it on the edge. It'll be drying very clear and matte, so you're not even going to see it. But you want it to be fairly even. You just want to work pretty quick. Because if we were doing this in the wintertime, it wouldn't be so bad because it would take a little bit longer to dry, but being that we're in the summer, well, as I'm filming this, we're doing it in the summer, I should say. And then, like I said, if you have any little boogies, you want to make sure you get those off. All right. And then put that back in the water. And you'll take your other piece of paper and make sure you lay it square. And like I said, you can flip it over and lift it. You can put it up to the light and you'll be able to see. So I'm going to flip it over and you can see on the edges if it's crooked or not. And mine's just a tad crooked. So I'm going to scoot it so it's not so crooked. But that'll also be the back side too. And then you just want to smooth it out. And take your brayer or your stick and just, again, roll out any wrinkles. Roll out all of the... Be careful when you get to the edges. You don't want to rip. So be aware of where your owl ends. Just make sure you just kind of rub it all over. And like I said, if you guys have a any kind of brayer or rolling pin would work really well too. So really the palm of your hand would work great. And then just you'll see the edges. And then we'll let that dry, and then we'll do our little owl. Or if you started out with your little owl, then you'll do your big owl. So we'll let that dry. Just like that. All right. Just keep checking. Make sure you don't get any little wrinkles. But like I said, a little bit of texture is totally fine. No one's gonna notice. And if someone notices, you tell them it was intentional. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. All right, so that one's ready to let dry. So we're gonna let that dry. So I'm gonna set that to the side, but don't go far because we're gonna do some more with this. So we'll set that to the side. And if you want, set it up on something so the underside will also get dried. So if you want to take one of your sticks and then just lay it down on one of the sticks so air can get up underneath there, that would be helpful. So I'm going to lay it down on a surface like that so there's air that's getting between the surface and that also, if that makes sense, because you want both sides to dry. Like I said, Mod Podge dries pretty quick, but you know, we don't want any problems. So I'm going to set that aside, and I'm going to do my little owl this time. And this time I'm going to do this paper, and this paper really doesn't matter. I mean, there's some lines in it, but really you got to get kind of close to see it. So if it's a little bit crooked, to my owl, it's not a big deal, like it would have been with the buffalo check. So all right, so now I'm gonna coat this guy with some more glue. And I'm gonna open up my Mod Podge pot, my third one here. Like I said, it's kind of like a thumb push up and a finger push down. And that's kind of tricky. And we're gonna dip in there, get some more glue. And again, make sure there's no little boogies on there, and get the glue right on, ready to go. All right, just like that. And again, make sure no globs. See how that's there's kind of globs right there? You don't want that. You want to make sure you're smoothing that all out. You want to go all the way to the edge. Like that. Smooth it out. All right. So much fun. And then get our paper ready. Don't want to take too much time, otherwise your glue will dry and your paper won't stick. All right, there we go. Put that back in the water, and we'll decide which way we want up. I say we'll go this way, so I'm gonna set it just like that. Set it down, hold it up to the light, make sure it's where I want it centered. Perfect. Push down with my hands, and you can take your roller and roll it out. Like I said, you want to start in the middle, because here's the bottom of my owl, here's the top of my owl up here. You want to make sure you start in the middle and roll out. Start in the middle and roll out. Start in the middle and roll out. Because if you start down here, you can, if you have a bubble, you can push that bubble right through and it'll fold and make a big wrinkle. So you don't want that. You want to make sure that you're choosing the path of least resistance. Especially when paper gets wet, it gets pretty fragile. So Just push it down. And I'm doing medium pressure. I'm not pushing super hard. Just enough pressure to just work any little bubbles or any knots. And then flip it over and do a little bit more. And take a little bit more glue and right to the edge. Just like that. Work quick. Right to the edge. Just like that. So cute, guys, so cute. I love these little guys. They're so much fun. They look so cute with little fairy lights too. I'll show you a photo at the end. Really cute stuff. Just want to make sure, let me show you guys. You just want it to look wet. See how it's kind of shiny? You just want it to be wet. You don't want any big globs because that'll create a problem for you. All right, and now my other piece of paper. And just be careful with your holes. You want to make sure that you miss those. Just like that. And push down. And burnish it in. And be aware of where your little ears are and your little tail. And just push. And I just use circular motion with medium pressure. And then you can take your brayer and just roll out. Start in the middle, roll out. Start in the middle, roll out. All right. And you can take your fingers and just run along the edge. But it should stick pretty good. And then, these are gonna be so cute, guys. I cannot wait to see what everybody's looks like. Oh my gosh. That's the best thing about these classes, is seeing everybody's creations at the end when you guys show me. It's really neat. It's just so neat to see everybody's uniqueness. I just love it so much. All right, so now we got, make sure that there's no little bubbles or bumps. Even if there is, no worries, no worries. No one's gonna care. No one's gonna notice. Just wanna push that all down, and then we're gonna let that dry. All right, so we'll let that, and again, I'm gonna kind of prop that up on something and let air get up underneath it on this side as well. I'm gonna set that to the side. Now, what we're gonna do is take our little, these are little bottle caps, and we're gonna glue our little eyeballs into those bottle caps. So, what we're gonna do is take a little bit of our Mod Podge and glue the back sides of our paper, and then we're gonna stick them right inside the bottle caps. So flip those over, and flip that over. Take our paintbrush again. And it's always good when you're not using your paintbrush, especially if you have just used paint or Mod Podge, you want to put it back in your water and make sure that it's getting rinsed out so your paintbrush doesn't dry out on you. So take off the water, and then we'll go back into our Mod Podge. And this time we're going to paint our little eyes. So we're just gonna put paint right, or not paint, we're gonna put Mod Podge glue right on top of our eyes. It might get a little bit messy, but this stuff comes off pretty easily. That's my neighbor. So now we wanna take one of the bottle caps and slip it right down in to your eye, just like that. And you don't have to press too hard, but you just want to make sure that it's stuck down in there, and we'll let that dry. And then we're gonna do that on all of the eyes. And that should fit right down in there, just like that. Okay, so we'll do that on all the others. So get my paintbrush out, take off all the water, get back in my Mod Podge here. And we'll coat this one. And again, you don't have to glob it on, but you definitely want to you want it to look wet. And again, you want to make sure that there's not a whole bunch on there, because it will wrinkle. So, and don't worry if you put some on there and you squeeze it and you see it coming out on the sides, it'll dry clear. No one will see that. You just want to tap it down in there. Make sure that sticks. Just like that. And you got another one. So cute. So cute. All right, let's do the other two. Get some more of this glue here. Put it right on there. Again, you want to make sure there's no fuzzies, because fuzzies will make a bump. So I'll put that in there. And I have a little fuzzy in there, so you want to make sure get that out. Stick that right down in there, just like that. And let that dry. And if it scoots around a little bit on you, that's okay. Just, you can always move it right back. Super easy. Just want to be pretty tender with it. Just push that paper right down in there. And then last but not least, do this one. So cute, guys, so cute. Oh my goodness. Got a little crazy with the glue. I need to pull some of that back off. It'll get a little crazy. All right. And we'll stick that one right down in there. And just kind of push it down in there. Make sure he sticks. And it'll dry pretty quick. And we're gonna stick thumbtacks through this anyway, so even if it doesn't stick real well, it'll eventually stick permanent. Well, not permanent, but a lot more permanent than this. So, but the glue will help kind of hold it. And then you'll set those to the side and let those dry. Now we're gonna paint our eyes. So I'm gonna close up my Mod Podge in case I want to use some later. I don't want it to dry up, so we'll just close those up. And then, depending on your paper choice, you might have had, you might have cream or you might have white, depending on the paper that you guys choose. So I have white here, so I'm gonna go ahead and open up my white. Pop that open. Or if you guys have another color you want to use, you're more than welcome to do so. I'm going to get a fresh paper towel here. And now we're going to paint our little eyes here. Get this out of the way. If there's any, make sure there's no little dusties or anything, no pet hair or anything on there. You want to make sure that those are fairly clean. And you guys can make them either way, although how I have them is with, these are mason jar caps. So if you flip them over, the back side looks like that. You're more than welcome to use this side if you want to. However, the way the kit was is I made it so that the rim goes down and you're painting the metal side. So just for reference, This is what, see how the rim goes down. So, but you're more than welcome to go that direction if you want to have a different look. But just for cohesiveness, I'm going to stick with how the kit was. So, you guys make it your own. And now we're going to paint our eyes with our paint. So, what we're going to do is take our paintbrush, make sure it's clean of all the glue. Take off the water, just dab it off. And I'm going to go into my white paint, and I'm going to get it all over my surface, and then I'm going to go in with my other sponge and create texture. But you guys don't have to create the texture if you don't want to. It just kind of, instead of brush strokes, I think it looks a little neater. So what I'm going to do is just paint it all the way, and then go back over it with my sponge. And you don't have to glob on the paint. You just want to make sure that it's an even coat, because we'll do a couple of coats. Go around the edges. And the paper towel's nice. That way you're not painting your kitchen table or your kitchen counter or wherever it is that you're doing your craft. And now I'm going to go back in and create my texture, just to eliminate those brush strokes. And I'll show you. See how it's just a kind of a neat texture instead of brush strokes here. Let me show you what the brush strokes will look like. You can do the brush strokes. If that's what you like, then you do the brush strokes. But this is what the brush strokes will look like. Let me zoom you in. Get the paint on. You want to get all the edges. And you guys don't have to use the white or the cream. You can use any color you want. If you got any kind of acrylic or chalk paint, you can make these eyes any color you want. If you want to match them to your owl, you're more than welcome to do so. So this is what the difference is. One is brush strokes, and one has a little bit of a different texture. And the more coats you add, the better you'll see less and less of the texture and or the brush strokes. But that I just wanted to show you what the difference looks like. But I prefer the texture over the brush strokes. So I'm just going to go back in and texturize this one also. But you guys do it however you want. We'll let that dry. All right, oh, I got a little boogie. Need a little bit more paint. And this acrylic paint will dry pretty quick too. All right, now move him to the side. And then we'll do our small eyes, just like that. And the smaller ones, there is really no difference. Unless you have like a mark or a scratch on one side, I would choose the opposite. But yeah, you guys can choose the small owl eyes. There is no difference. It's just punched metal. And then I'm just going to paint a coat on, just like the others. Just like that. And I'm going to put a coat on the second one. Just like that. Super, super easy. And I'm going to pounce it out and put that texture on it. Got a little boogie there. And I'm not pressing very hard. It's very just gentle pounces. I'm not pressing very hard. Just enough to put the impression of the sponge texture on the surface. All right, we're gonna let that dry. Now, if you wanted to add any color to your little bird wings, now would be the time to do that. And you're more than welcome to do that. And what I can do is I can show you, we'll do the small one. So I'm going to leave my, well, actually I could do, let's do both. So I'll move this out of the way. We'll do a second coat on the eyes, but I'll let that dry real quick. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna get a second paper towel. Told you, I'm a messy baby. We'll take and you wanna make sure that you have the right side of the wing. So you wanna make sure you know which side. I mean, you can do both sides if you want to, but I'm gonna have my large owl on the left side and my small owl on the right side. So I want my little wings to go accordingly. So you want the points to be on, not to be confusing. Here, let me show you. This is my owl. See how the little point follows the tail, just like that. So I'm gonna have this wing, I'm gonna be painting this side of the wing, because if I was to paint this side, it would be pointing this direction. So I'm gonna paint it just like that. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. But you guys can paint either side and then decide later if you want it to be this way or that. But really, it makes no difference. But I'm just gonna paint the one side. So I'm gonna do white on this wing, and I'm gonna do a brown on my small wing, because I have white on my big owl, and I have brown with the sunflowers on my small owl. So I think that'll look nice. And I'm going to make sure my brush is clean. And I'm gonna let's do my white one first so we don't muddy anything up. I'm gonna take my paintbrush, go back into my white paint, and this time I'm gonna put it on the surface of my sponge, just a little bit, and then we can just dab it onto my wing. Just like that. I'm gonna do a little bit more. And you guys can do as much or as little as you want. This is totally optional. You do not have to do the extra color on the wings if you don't want to. Super cute. Totally cute. All right. Now, I'm going to take my dark sponge and do that on my dark wing. Open up my brown paint again. I'm going to clean off my brush and then dip into my paint. I think I have just enough. And then dab away. Just gives a little extra something. A little bit more if there's any left. See if I can just brush it on. Oh yeah, there we go. Super cute. And then, if you want, I added a little bit of gold paint to your kit. And if you wanted to add a little bit of gilding to your wings, we can do that now. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up my gold paint. This up real quick. And a little bit will go a long way with this, so you don't need a whole lot. Just dip your brush in, and then you can dab it off onto your paper towel, and then just add a little bit, just really lightly onto the wing if you want. And again, this is totally optional. You don't have to do this. I'm gonna do a little bit more. And just adds a little bit of warmth. Just a little something extra. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. It's kind of hard to see on camera. And again, you guys can add as much as you want. Might be more to sponge it on. Let's see if we can sponge it on. Oh yeah, there we go. Cute. So cute. And I think I'm going to add a little bit to I'm going to stick with the brush. If you guys are doing, if you be careful with your white sponge, you don't want to put the gold on your white sponge and then go back to your eyes, because you'll make them dirty. So you just want to make sure you keep your white sponge clean. So I'm just going to take the paintbrush and just kind of lightly go over the top. Right on the edges. And then just a little bit in the middle. So cute. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Cute. All right. So we'll let that dry. Oh, I think a train's getting ready to go by. All right. Now we'll go back and put our second coat on our eyeballs. So here we go. Make sure that you clean your brush really, really well. Just make sure, oh my gosh. Just make sure you clean your brush really, really well before you go back into getting more of your white paint. Unless you have cream paint or a different color, and then it's okay. So now we're gonna go and do our second coat on our eyes. And same thing, I'm just gonna scoop it out and put it right here. Just add it, just like so. And be careful not to scratch your other coat off, and then just dab it. You just want to keep adding and be real gentle, because the first coat is still curing, so you just want to kind of tap it on, and then take your brush and maybe add a little bit to your brush or to your sponge, and then dab it. Real gentle. Oops, I'm sticking. It's nice and gentle. And I'm almost like rocking it on, so I don't pull off that other coat. And we'll let that dry. And we'll do the other one. Just make sure you get all the edges. Oops. It's trying to get away from me. There we go. Just like that. And we'll do the last one here. Get some more paint. Put it on my surfaces. Get all the paint out of there, all the goodness. Just like that. And then we'll let that dry. All right. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let that dry. I'll move my paint pots out of the way. And at this point, hopefully our bird bodies will be mostly dry. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna come back in, and now we're gonna sand the edges of our birds. So we're gonna take our finger and go all along the edge of our bird, and just be careful, but what you're gonna do is just follow along. So you're gonna basically kind of crease the edge. Get close. You just want to crease the edge so you can see the edge of your bird. Just all along. You don't have to press real hard, but just so you can see where your body is. And I'm gonna flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. Just so you can see where you're gonna be sanding. All along. Now, what you wanna do, and you're gonna do that on both the small and the large. Now, you're gonna take your scissors and you're going to very carefully cut right in between, because this is one owl ear and this is one owl ear. You're going to want to cut up to the point. So what I'm doing, let me show you. So what I'm doing is that paper is covering these owl ears. So what I'm doing is cutting the paper right up to the point. So we'll have a point here and a point here. Does that make sense? So that's, see how now I've got two owl ears? Can you see that? That's what I'm doing. It just makes it a little bit easier when you go to sand. Just be careful, you don't want to go too far, but you want to go up to the wood. And then you're going to flip it over and do the other side. I'm just going to cut right up to that point. The sandpaper will do most of the work, but this just kind of gives you a little bit easier of time. And you can even cut that excess off if you want to. See how that was one owl ear? Just be careful you don't want to cut anything you don't want to leave. It kind of gives you a visual of where to sand. Just like that. All right. I'll set that to the side. We'll keep that for another. Now this is where it just gets a little kind of messy, not super messy, but you can do this over a trash can or on a, put out some newspaper or some larger paper towels or something like that. And then we're just gonna basically sand off the edges of the paper. And it would be easier if you could do this on a table edge, where you go to the table edge. So I guess I can use my other owls. But if you want to set this down on a surface so as it's off the ground, off the surface, and you're going to take your tongue depressor and a piece of your sandpaper and and this is pretty important, you're going to put it to the edge at about this sort of an angle. Here, let me show you. You want it to be about that sort of an angle, and you're going to stroke down, always down. Do not go like this. Excuse me. You don't want to go back and forth because you can lift up the paper. You always stroke down. Okay? So what you want to do is, it helps if it's on the edge of a table and you're just going to take it and go, and I stroke down, lift up, come around, and stroke back down. So I'm doing this. So the only time you're coming in contact is on the downward stroke. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move mine to the edge. Let me move you guys over so you can see. I'm going to go flying. And I'm going to move. It's really a lot easier if you're on the edge of a table. So then you can really just sand down, just like that. And then you'll start to see the paper will start to give way. And you're going to want to go all the way around, all the way around. And then when you sanded that side, then you flip it over and go all the way around on the other side. Be careful when you get in between and on the points. You don't want to have to press too hard because it might rip, because this is still drying. So you just want to make sure that when you get to the points of the tops of the ears and at the bottom of its little tail, you just want to be extra careful when you get to that point. All right, let's get sanding. And it helps to kind of brace it with your thumb, and then you can push down that way. I'm not pushing terribly hard, and the more fragile your paper, the less pressure you'll need. So if you're doing a napkin or tissue paper, this will sand very easily, super, super easily. So you got to be really careful to make sure that it doesn't rip, and you want to make sure that it sands. And see how it's coming off? Oh. All right. And if it helps, you can cut up to the tail too. That way you can see what you're doing. Totally optional, you don't have to do that. Just kind of helps show you where you need to sand. Just be careful on the curves. Take a little extra care on the ends. And always, always, always sand down, never up, okay? Because you can rip the paper right off the surface. Always down. And then you just follow it right on around. You want to make sure you're at a good angle. You don't want to be flat. You want it to be on an angle. Because if you're flat, you're going to sand sand the surface, and you don't want to do that. Unless you want to do that. If you want to sand the surface, you're more than welcome to do so, but you'll rip it a little bit. Be careful on the ends, like I said. When you get in between the ears, just go real gentle and it'll come off. Just take your time. Same motion, always down, never up. And then you can just go ahead and remove the excess. Be careful, you always want to make sure you're going down. Again, if you're peeling up the extra, don't peel it up that way. You don't want to pull up, go up this way. You always want to pull down. So you're not peeling up what you want to keep. You always want to pull away from, down, towards the floor. Just like that. Now, we flip it over and we do this side. So cute, guys, so cute and so easy. Goodness, so easy. Take your time with it. Just work your way around the edge. But always on the down motion. And always on an angle, never flat. And if you find that your sandpaper isn't sanding as good, you can move it to a different location, a different pressure point, and it'll start sanding good again. Just be careful on the ends. It's better to do it a couple of times than one hard sand because you can rip it. So you want to make sure that you're taking your time with it. And you can see when it's starting to release. You can go and check and see if it's releasing. Just make sure you peel down and away. Peel down and away. And there you go. You guys, so cute. Clean them up a little bit. But see, isn't he cute? And then you can go back if you got any little fuzzies, you can take care of those now. Just go along real gentle and take off the little fuzzies. But make sure you go down, you don't go up. Always, always, always. Down and away. And if you have like some extra little boogies, you can go in and get those. But how cute is that, guys? How cute. So cute. Love it, love it, love it. And then we'll repeat this on the little dude. So same thing. And you guys have 2 pieces of sandpaper, so I'm going to switch mine out for the other one. And feel free to cut the excess away and also cut between the ears. Again, not necessary really, but it just kind of helps visually know where you need to cut with the ears. And you can even do that up with the tail too. Just make sure you don't cut anything off you need. So you got the basic shape, and now I'm going to go ahead and sand it all the way around. Okay, almost for the big reveal. Remember, make sure you pull away and down. And look how cute, you guys. I'm in love. So darn cute. So cute. Just cleaning up all the little extras, little fuzzies that might be hanging on. And I think that looks really cute. So cute, guys. A little dusty. And there you guys have it. You have Mod Podged your owls. Oh my goodness, they're so cute. Woohoo! All right. Woo. All right, guys, let's do the next step. If you wanted to, you can now take your stems and coat them if you wanted to. If you wanted to paint these and or stain them, you're more than welcome to do so along with your wood feet. Although I'm not going to do it just because that's what I did originally, but you guys are more than welcome to paint these. Just to make sure you don't saturate the sticks, because if they swell, they won't fit. So just, and maybe they will after they dry, but just, I would be a light coat on that. And I don't necessarily recommend wrapping it in any kind of ribbon and or paper unless you leave enough to fit down into the foot and into the bottom of the bird. If you want to wrap up to a certain point, you could do that, but I wouldn't go end to end, because then it won't fit down into your little feet. All right, so let's move on to the next step. So go ahead, if you wanted to stain your feet and your legs, if you wanted to, your little sticks. I'm personally not going to, because I didn't do that in the kit, but you guys go ahead and do so. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to the next step. And the next step is we're going to take our little thumbtacks. What we're going to do is, and very carefully, because these may or may not have dried all the way. If you've let it go for about an hour or so, they're probably pretty dry. But you're going to want to very carefully stick the larger thumbtack. You want the ones that look with the larger ones that have a look like that. Don't use the smaller ones. The smaller ones have a smaller head. Those are for the wings. You want these ones. Okay? So they're the larger ones that look like eyeballs. So what you're going to do is you're basically going to push each thumbtack through the paper and on through to the back of your bottle cap. And be very, very careful. You don't have to push it real hard, but what you can do is a little bit of a trick. Go flip it over so you can actually see the hole, and very, very carefully just poke it through and hold on. Don't poke yourself. Be very careful in doing so. But if you poke just enough, you can poke the paper and you can see there'll be like a little point, and you can see actually exactly where to push through. And then you go ahead and just follow on through. So let me zoom you in here. So now we're just going to push on through. Just like that. And now you have one little owl eye. So cute. Now we're going to do that again. We're going to take our thumbtack, take the other owl eye, and again, be very, very, very careful, because the paper is not going to want to stick to this metal very well. So you want to make sure that you're holding on to the paper with your fingers on this side. Okay, you want to, oh, did you guys see that? It just went in my water. Oh man. You want to make sure when you poke through the backside, you go up through the hole just enough to poke the paper. You don't even have to break. You're just going through the backside just enough to see where that paper is. And then you'll have a little point to poke through instead of trying to play, where do I put it? So, and then there you go. You have another little owl eye. All right, we'll do that to the other two. I gotta grab another one because mine went into my water, of course. All right, once again, I'm gonna flip it over. I'm gonna just barely poke it through just so I can see where I can poke it on the other side. And then you might be able to see there's a little dimple now in the paper, and now I know where to put the tack. So then I can line that up with the point with the dimple, and you push on through, just like that. And one more time. Flip it over. Hold on to it. Don't poke your finger. These are sharp. They will poke you. Just poke it just enough to get that dimple so you can see it on this side. And then you know where to line it up. And you can poke on through. Just like that. All right, guys. Now, we're going to, we'll do the larger one first. You can do either one, but I'm going to go ahead. And again, you guys can mix and match. If you want to put these on on this owl, you can do that, and then put these ones on this owl. It's totally up to you, but I think I'm just gonna stay. Oh, am I or am I not? I don't know. You know what? I think I'm gonna swap my eyes. So I'm gonna put the large owl eyes on this bird, and then I'm gonna put these owl eyes on this bird. That way it definitely looks like a pair. So, but you guys, you do it however you want, but I'm gonna do it that way. All right, so now, and you wanna make sure that you have the right side the right way. So if you want it this side facing this way, or if you want it this side facing this way, it's totally up to you, but I'm gonna go ahead and stick with how mine was with the kit. So now I'm gonna take my large owl eye, peel it up. Be careful, they're probably gonna still be a little bit damp. You can take a heat tool and or a hair dryer on low, and you can dry it a little bit faster, but on cool. Don't use hot heat because you can burn your paint. So, but if it's dry to the touch, I think you'll be okay. So then you can definitely tell on these where to stick the tack. So now we're gonna go ahead and very carefully, don't poke yourself, you're gonna stick it right on through. And be careful with your paint. But see, it goes just like that. I'm gonna set that on the side, just be very careful. And see, it is still a little bit wet. Or maybe that isn't. Nope, I don't know. All right, now we're gonna take the next one. Same thing. You know where to put it, right there, just like that. So now this is totally up to you guys. You figure out where you want to place them. You want them up top, or you want them down lower in the middle. You want them a little bit further apart or closer together. It's totally up to you. But I'm gonna do it probably, you know what, let's take these out, just make them a little bit easier. And I'll show you what the original looked like. The original was about, I know some of you folks out there are gonna wanna know measurements. So it looks like the owl eyes were down about a quarter of an inch. So, and they were touching. The owl eyes were touching. So we'll just do that. So what we can do, and you can see that the pinholes are not in the center, and that was done on purpose. So you want to make sure that the pinholes are closest to each other, if that makes sense. Because see how, if we go back to the original, the bottle caps are not in the center of the caps. They're a little bit off center, just to add more character. So they're a little bit closer together. See, there's more space here than there is over here, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. So you can see that that would have been more in the center. But I closed the gap a little bit just to add a little bit of cuteness. So that's why the pinholes are not in the middle of the eyeballs. So I'm just gonna line them up. You guys can get out a ruler and make it as square as you possibly can do it. Not me. I just eyeball it, and your eye is going to tell you what's right and what's not. So I'm gonna stick my head in the frame probably, but you wanna make sure that the pinholes are fairly level, and you want them closer together than they are further apart. So you don't want them to look like that. You want them like that. And I'm gonna push these together so they're touching. We're about a quarter of an inch down. And I'm gonna say that's pretty good right there. All right, so now what you wanna do is just push down into the wood with your thumbtack. And I'm just gonna hold the eyeball with my thumb and I'm just gonna push down through that thumbtack hole. I'm not gonna push all the way, just enough to get it to stick into the wood. Just enough. And it's pretty soft wood. This is pine, so it's pretty soft. So you should be able to push down into the wood. Just be careful. Make sure everything's lined up. And again, push down. And now you can take your hammer and hammer it on down if you want to. Just be very, very, very careful. And it might be a little bit loud, but I'm just gonna take my little hammer and just tap it. You don't have to hit it hard. It's super easy to tap into. Just be very gentle. There we go. And there you go. You got a little owl. So cute. All right. And now we're going to take his little wing. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And I'm going to stick him right there. And the original was pretty much lined up with the edge and right under the eye. But you guys can put it anywhere you want. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stick him right there. And I'm going to take the smaller thumbtacks, and you're going to need 3. The ones that look like little tiny railroad spikes. Little itty bitty guys. And what you're going to do, same thing. Just kind of hold on to it. And I'm just going to put one in the middle at the top. Just about a short ways down. I'm gonna hammer him in, just enough to hold it. And then I'm gonna put these 2 on either side, just a little ways down. But you guys can put it however you want. And then hold on to it and then hammer him down. Just like that. Oh my gosh, you guys, so cute. How cute is that? I'll make sure I didn't. He's so cute. How cute. A little hoot owl. All right, we'll put that one to the side. Now we'll do our smaller one. The same exact thing. Get our little eyes. And again, the thumbtack holes are not in the middle, and they're not in the middle on purpose. So you want them kind of closer than they are farther. Just like that. And again, just about 1/4 of an inch down. And I'm gonna just leave just the littlest space in between them. Just like that. Can you guys see that? Just like that. But again, you guys place them however you want. And then you place your thumbtacks. You want to make sure though that your pinholes are pretty even. Otherwise you might have a little bit, your eyes might be a little off. But that can be really cute too. So, all right, I think I'm pretty good with that. Make sure they're even. And again, just push them down through, push your thumbtack down through the pinhole just enough to hold on to it. Be very gentle. Just enough. And then push this one down just to hold on to it so they don't go popping all over the place. And then you can hammer them on down. A little dude fell. Oh no. To find my original hole. right there. You got a little owl. He's so cute, you guys. Oh my goodness, he's so cute. All right. So cute. Make sure he's down. There we go. Oh my gosh, you guys. I'm in love. He's so stinking cute. Okay, let's put his little wing on. And I'm going to have his wing going that way. Just like that. Get your smaller tack. Put him at the top. Just a little ways down. Hammer it in. And then these two on either side. And that's where the needle nose pliers would come in handy if you wanted to hold on to it and then hammer it. So cute, you guys. Look how cute. So cute. All right. Now, what we can do is put our sticks in. So we'll go ahead and do that. So you just want to put the stick in. And you can put a little bit of glue in there if you don't want it to come out. And this one too. Go ahead and insert your sticks. And now, move my paint out of the way. We're done with that. We'll take our ribbons and our raffia. I'm just going to cut each one in half, fold it over. I'm going to cut right there. You guys can make these as long as you want or as short as you want. I'm going to put it on the front. I'm going to lay it down like that. I'm going to take my piece of ribbon. I'm going to go up and up by the body, just like that. And then we're going to tie, make sure that our raffia is centered on our ribbon. Move this little guy out of the way. Make a bow. Just make a loop like that. Then you're going to take this one and go behind. Take behind, around, and up through. And then pull tight. And you got yourself a little bow. So cute. And you can fiddle with it and make it just right. And then, let me show that again, guys. My raffia is being a little stinker. So I'm gonna have to retie that. Let's try this again. And get it apart. Let's make the raffia go the same way. So we'll angle it with the body, just like the ribbon. This time we'll go like this. That's better. So we'll make sure the tails are even. Left over right. Follow through. Pull tight. Make a loop. Take the left one, go around, over the top, and back up through. and you got a bow. And then pull tight. And then you can fiddle with it and make it just perfect. And one side of the ribbon will pull it tight and the other will make it loose. And there you have it. Got a bow. I'm going to trim this edge a little bit. Cut this end off, make it even. And then I'm going to put my little feet on and the big foot for the big bird. Oh my gosh, you guys, so cute. Ooh. So cute. And then you can fiddle with the raffia and make it just however you want. If you want them short or long, totally up to you. I like mine a little bit shorter, but you guys do however you want. Just like that. How stinking cute. Just squeeze it and arrange it however you want. You guys, so cute. Hold on. Let's do this one more time. All right, we'll take our pieces, raffia. And we'll lay it down in the same way the body's going. Take our other piece of ribbon, go up under, just like that. Left over right, pull tight, make a loop, left under, over, and up through. It's a little fiddly, all keeping it flat, and pull tight. And then you can fiddle with it, make it sit however you want. And like I said, the front parts of the bow generally pull tight. The back side will make it loose. There you got a bow. So cute. And again, I like my raffia a little bit shorter. Put his little foot on, and you guys have the cutest set of owls. You guys, how cute is this? How cute! Oh my gosh! Woo-hoo. All right, you guys, we did it. So cool, so cool. You guys, look what you made. So cute. No one has these, but you have these. So cute. You guys, thank you so much for coming tonight and doing craft night with me and making these cute little owls. Please post them on 3 Barns of Charm or tag me with 3 Barns of Charm and let me see what you guys make. I cannot wait to see what you guys do with these. So cute. You can make them your own. So much you can do. It's just awesome. And again, thank you so much for hanging out with me tonight and making these cuties. Oh my gosh, woo-hoo, so cute. Can't forget the original. Oh my gosh, you guys, how cute. Just so cute. Love it. So keep your eyes and ears open to 3 Barns of Charm because more is coming. We're going to do some more thrift flips. We're going to do more craft classes. We're going to do all kinds of adventures and maybe some flea marketing. So I think it'll be a really good time. So if you guys like farmhouse and crafts and all things outdoors too, hang out. Come find me. Press that like, subscribe, get notified because more fun stuff is coming right at you. So you guys, thank you so much. You did it. You did this. So cute. Have a great night, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye.